What's up, everyone? This is Don951 and Mekkah,
Hey.
and you are watching Chapter 5, my Fire Emblem 12 Maniac Mode 0% Gross playthrough. Mekkah, welcome back. I apologize for benching you in the previous chapter. I hope you're coming back all rested.
Yeah, I had to take a chill pill for a chapter because I was all fatigued, but now that I'm restored and I've got my S drinks on me, I'll be able to provide 40 HP worth of commentary for you.
Very nice, which is what we need for this chapter, because even though it's not nearly as busy as the prior one, there's still many things that we have to point out. The first thing that we should mention is that Sita rejoins our party in this chapter. She comes in the same level that she left Prologue in. She's still pretty good at this point in the game. She still has that very quick 15 speed, and in this chapter, she joins with her Wing Spear, which, as we saw in Shadow Dragon, was extremely broken. It's not nearly as broken in this game because the enemy composition is not homogeneous like it was back then, but she's still going to be useful in the upcoming maps. The other thing that we do in the prep menu, aside from a few reclasses, is we have to forge a second Javelin with plus 10 hit, and we do this for reliability purposes. I'm going to name it the Gradivoo in honor of Irysa because he keeps making fun of me for pronouncing Camus the right way.
Javelin is a funny story in Fire Emblem in general. The last 6 games or so had really broken Javelins, mostly FE7 and FE8, but even FE9 and FE10. In this game they're still pretty good despite the low might, because once your range is just that broken and you can add might if you need to. But in Fates they decided, Javelins need to be nerfed a whole ton, but then they also gave 2 of the Royals really broken personal weapons with 1 to range, infinite uses, and a bunch of other boons, so maybe balancing isn't their passion as much as it was Kaga's, but what do I know?
So right from the outset, we've got a couple of enemy units that we can recruit on turn 1. Over on the right is Barst, the enemy fighter. You'll remember from Shadow Dragon. He was pretty good in that game, but in this game, he joins in Chapter 5 with mediocre base stats and D-rank access, so he is pretty irrelevant for the rest of this playthrough. The other unit that we recruit is the enemy thief Rickard. We recruit him with Julian. He was the other recruitable thief that we talked about back in Chapter 3, and he's worse than Julian in every notable way. The only reason to recruit him in a non-full recruitment playthrough is for his VAP card. It's the item that lets us access secret shops, which is very important in this run. It's worth noting that in Lunatic mode, the starting position of Rickard is 1 tile further away, so it's actually impossible to recruit him in turn 1 with Julian without using a rescue staff, or without waiting until later in the chapter to use other more complex strategies. So kind of a dick move on the part of the developers, but I mean, it makes the chapter a little bit more entertaining, I suppose.
Ogma has been reclassed into a Myrmidon because it has more speed than the Mercenary class, and he needs that speed to one-round this mage right here, so that's pretty important. We've also reclassed Sirius to Draconite because, well, we don't really need a reason to transfer anyone into Draconite because it's the most broken class in the game. And we have also reclassed Aaron for the purposes of using the Rescue Staff, which will help accelerate Marth a bit. Marth needs to reach the throne, sure, but he also needs to reach the village in the top left, because the village in the top left has the hammer and staff, and that's going to be very important for repairing the warp staff later, and also the rescue staff that we're going to use today, I hope, because I think you forgot to move Marth a couple times right now.
Yeah, not moving Marth is definitely not a brain fart on my part. I wouldn't make careless mistakes like that, obviously. We reclassed Aaron to Sorcerer in this chapter, even though he has no proficiency in magic using whatsoever. He has no base rank in tomes or staves, for a very important reason. So in this game, the Rescue Staff is an E-rank staff, and that means that any promoted unit who reclasses to a magic using class can use the Rescue Staff immediately. And that's notable because only promoted magic using units have 6 movement, whereas the unpromoted staff users have 5. And we need that extra point of movement to get Marth to the right tile by this turn. The other trick that we employ to get Marth a couple extra tiles of movement is what I like to refer to as rescue boosting. So you notice that we put Aaron in between Katria and Sita, and that's because in this game and every other game that has rescue staff, the game has an innate priority to determine what tile the rescue unit is transported to. In this game, the priority is down, right, left, and then up. It just so happens that in almost every map where Marth has to get somewhere, he needs to move up and to the left, and so the rescue tile priority works against us. And so in order to counteract that, we have to occupy the tiles that have higher priority, such that he's transported to a tile with lower priority. This is not the last case of rescue boosting that we'll be using in this run.
You can now see that Aaron didn't just take damage on turn 1 because it was new to using magic and didn't know that he could attack from 2 range. It was also just to give Malicia something to heal to gain EXP. So not a complete brain fart by Aaron there. There was a group of very threatening Draconites in the middle of the map that were chilling in the mountains waiting for Marth to visit the village so he could kill them. But thankfully Palla dispatched them, and now the only most threatening enemies left are the Ballistas on the center island. and the snipers in the upper right. Now those snipers, they haven't moved ever at all. They belong to a guy called George, a recruitable enemy sniper that will join us later, but not right now. And in Lunatic, if you move in their range, they will attack you and probably murder you because they're really strong, including George. But in this mode, they just chill there, and if you don't go up and attack them, they will just leave you alone. And that's very helpful.
So now that Marth has successfully obtained the Hammer and Staff, the only thing left for him to do is to finish this map and seize the gate. So we have to clear out the area around the boss. That area contains 2 enemy battle stations, one of which is a boss himself, and 3 armor knights, so fairly threatening, especially for our flyers. But one thing to note in this game and in FE11 is that enemy battle stations, when they don't have a movement range, they're actually outranged by promoted flyers. So all Palla has to do is to park herself on the edge of the battle station range, and then swoop in whenever she pleases to one-round KO him with the Silver Lance. And for her trouble, she gets the Gemini Star Shard. It's the second Star Shard that get in this game. It gives +1 strength and +1 magic. Because it's a more offensive Star Shard, it tends to be among the more useful ones, so we welcome that to our inventory.
Yeah, because the combination of those 2 ballisticians is so dangerous, everyone else has been kind of chilling outside of their range for a little bit. The ballista that's not the boss has Stone Hoist, which is not effective against flyers, but it still hits like a truck. In fact, he has exactly as much attack as the boss does, and the combination of them will 2-hit kill almost any of our units. But now that the boss is gone, we're safe to park other units in their range because he's not effective against flyers, which is pretty damn nice.
There's a few other things that I have to point out before I finish this map. So we were trying hard to feed Sita a few kills because we want to get her to level 10 for promotion by around chapter 8 or so. Not necessary for that map, but it does make that a lot easier. And then the last 2 things that we have to do is we have to visit the vendor on the boss island. So this vendor sells door keys, and we have to buy one from the next chapter. They're dropped by some of the enemies, but it's just easier to buy the door key here, so we don't have to figure out a way to transport the door key to the right unit. There is a secret shop tile right above that vendor as well. It sells a master seal. Might be helpful in casual playthroughs, but most LTCs pass it up. The last thing that we do before seizing the gate is to have Sirius kill the enemy bishop with a physics staff. We were very careful throughout this entire chapter to not leave any units with less than half HP during enemy phase, and this would trigger the bishop to heal his comrade and waste a physic use, so we would get the physics staff without the full 10 uses. So that's chapter 5 finished in 7 turns. We'll see you next time.
See ya.